Hey, and welcome to the Meditations and Musings podcast. I'm Elena Lipson. I'm a mama, I'm a wife, and I'm the founder of the Divine Self-Care Circle membership and the Virtual Retreat Academy. I don't believe that you have to sacrifice your body, your health, or your family in order to create true abundance and prosperity. I believe in living based on the divine feminine metrics of success, and these include pleasure, play, ease, grace, and a slower pace. Each week, I'll bring you 1 to 2 new episodes. One of these will be a guided meditation that you don't have to do on the meditation pillow, and the other will be a conversation to help you access your inner wisdom, to ignite abundance, and inspire others to do the same. I invite you to join me on this journey back to the magic of a divinely aligned and well cared for you. And now, join me for today's episode. Hey, this is Elena Lipson, your Divine Self-Care Mentor, and thank you so much for being here today. Today is a Musings day. Some days will be meditation days, but today I have a topic that I've written about before, and I think it's important to talk about. So as someone who teaches self-care, I also want to be really, really clear. Self-care is like a tool. It's like a tool in your toolbox. When you're feeling down, when you're feeling exhausted, when you're feeling like celebrating, there are self-care tools that you can access to help to realign your energy. That's what self-care is ultimately about. It's about learning to manage your energy. But there's a dark side to self-care. Did I just say that? Yes. There is a dark side to self-care. So the question that I have today for you to explore, that I'm going to explore, is when does self-care become self-sabotage? So like most things that I muse about, I experienced this one myself. And the reason that I felt like it was turning into self-sabotage, self-care was turning into self-sabotage, was because I was starting to use it as an excuse. Oh God, yes, I just said that. I was starting to use self-care as an excuse to fill my calendar. Now, before I get into the real meat of this, like what exactly am I talking about? When does self-care become self-sabotage? I want to just presence what I mentioned in the intro of this podcast in general, and that there is a thing out there called, hustling, and hustling has a certain energy behind it. Now, I don't dislike hustle in general. I just want to redefine it. I want to redefine it in a way that includes, not excludes, your energy. Now, I'm assuming if you're listening to this podcast that you are somewhat spiritual, you have some understanding of some of the things I'm going to be talking about, and that you don't recoil in horror when I talk about chakras and energy and spirituality. And if you're just getting into all of this stuff, then I definitely invite you to stay, because I feel like the type of spirituality that I talk about is really accessible. It's for everyone. It's more about learning to take silent moments so you can hear your intuition, learning how to really access your inner wisdom. So it's not about tuning out reality, and it's not about living in the clouds all the time, because I believe that we need to have our feet firmly planted on the beautiful Mother Earth to feel connected, to feel real, because we are living in human bodies after all, right? We're not just floating around as energy and light all the time in the ethers. So I want to make sure that when I share these musings with you, if I say a word that maybe throws you a little bit or it sounds weird, just stay with it, because I've been on the spiritual path for many years. So sometimes I do forget that it's just like, natural to me to say, open your third eye. And you might not know exactly what that is, but stay with me, because I really want to make this accessible to you. So when I talk about self-care as managing energy, it's really about learning to tap into your own cycles and rhythms. And when it comes to hustling, there are times to hustle. Like in the spring, right? Mother Nature is all about blooming and bursting forth. And there's all kinds of animals and baby birds and all kinds of things happening. And so we have those types of cycles and rhythms in our own bodies, in our own days. Once we learn to access those, we then stop feeling like we're pushing through all the time. And that's the part that I want to really guide you away from feeling like you're constantly pushing through your own energy. Like you, instead of taking a nap or a walk, you keep working. And the quality of your work actually diminishes. And we'll talk about that over time. There'll be lots of episodes about how to tell when you're pushing through in a negative way. Now, pushing through in a positive way means that you are expanding yourself. You are pushing past your own comfort zones. You are growing. Those are all wonderful things. But somewhere in the middle, there's a sweet spot. So self-care is a tool to manage your energy in that sweet spot where you work, you really give it your all, and then you rest, you play, you find pleasure. But what I want to talk to you about today is when self-care becomes self-sabotage. And so I know it's a weird question, like, especially from me, someone who teaches self-care as the way to access your innermost light, magic, and inspiration, and that's all true. Self-care really is a powerful practice of getting you back on the calendar, of renewing your energy, and allowing you to truly give to yourself so that you have energy, time, and compassion to give to others and yourself. But as I mentioned, there is a dark side to self-care. And I know it intimately because I've been exploring and teaching self-care in some form over the last 17 years. In fact, my very first newsletter as a coach that I sent out after I launched my first coaching practice, which was called North Star Coaching, was titled 10 Steps to Extreme Self-Care. I guess I felt my passion for teaching self-care from the very beginning of my work. So now that I've seen what I've seen with working with clients over the years, and I've been teaching it to clients, practicing it myself, talking about it on stages, and implementing self-care strategies, I can clearly see the shadow side of self-care. First, let's take a moment and define self-sabotage. Here is the textbook definition of self-sabotage. Behavior is said to be self-sabotaging when it creates problems and interferes with long-standing goals. The most common self-sabotaging behaviors are procrastination, self-medication with drugs or alcohol, comfort eating, and forms of self-injury. So let me ask this question again for you. When does self-care become self-sabotage? I believe that the shift happens from self-care to self-sabotage when you decide to set a big, capital letters, big goal for yourself. These goals can include starting a new business, making $100,000, losing 20 pounds, writing a book, starting a podcast, or even creating boundaries in your existing relationships. All of these goals have one thing in common. Actually, more than one thing. They all take time, they take effort, they take energy, a plan, and some kind of support. So this is why so many people spend a lifetime wishing, dreaming, and hoping that something, someone, some external force is going to come and change things for them. Setting that particular goal is only the first step. It's an important step, but only one step in a process. So I ask you again to really think about this. When does self-care turn into self-sabotage? I believe it happens physically, like you can start feeling it when you're in the midst of actually implementing the steps to manifest or create your big goal. Like you've started really taking action. And you begin to feel the energy that it's going to take to actually keep going on a daily basis. It takes work to create something. Yes, you can do it with ease, fun, and grace. All the things I teach in my work, there are easeful ways. There are ways that feel good to you, that will not really even feel like work some of the time. And it still takes effort on your part to meet your goal at least halfway. And that's when it becomes scary. That's when you feel the self-doubt creep in and you feel tired because the creation process can be tiring. So you decide to take a day off from working and then maybe another. Before you know it, you are distracting yourself more than you're working. You're more concerned about how much self-care is on your calendar versus how much specific process and goal nurturing is on your calendar. Can you feel that shift? It's subtle, but it does happen. I've seen it happen in my own life and with the clients that I work with. And the women who are in my membership program, the Divine Self-Care Circle, we talk about this all the time. This is exactly when self-doubt takes over, just when you're on the verge of making it happen. Self-sabotage happens when you lack the support of people who are also on the path of creating something big for themselves. It takes a delicate balance of self-care and work to really keep the momentum going. But there's good news because there's a mindset shift that can really help you to stop the self-sabotage and be able to benefit from self-care as a source of power and energy. There's a simple shift that I teach my clients and the women in my Divine Self-Care Circle. Want to know what it is? I hope so. So the mindset shift is to expand your definition of self-care. So I understand this might be a little bit of, a flip on the script of what I've been talking about, but just stay with me here. Because yes, self-care can and does include days of nothingness, time on the couch, cuddled with my furry blanket, and a binge session of my favorite Netflix show. Yes, self-care is a long, sweet session sitting in the coffee shop, writing in your journal, or reading your favorite book. Yes, self-care includes long naps and chats with your besties. And self-care is also a creative adventure because being creative is actually stimulating to your energy. Self-care includes enhancing activities like learning to play a new instrument, creating a vision board, organizing your closet, writing a letter to your future self, envisioning life with your goals accomplished, learning to paint or draw or doodle, learning to surf or paddleboard. These are self-care activities that expand your soul and show you what's possible. These are the self-care creative practices that nobody else is talking about. Because here's the deal. You can lay in bed all day. Yes, it's healing and nourishing when it's done in moderation. And you can activate your soul to think and see and feel the light and the power that you have to create. I've seen this over and over with my clients. But self-care is also much, much more than massages and naps, though these are crucial to nourishing your gorgeous goddess self, or God. But I invite you to expand your definition of self-care to include soul-igniting creative endeavors that allow you to meet your most powerful, creative, and playful self. From that place, you can watch how your own sense of yourself starts to shift and expand with confidence and pride in what you're able to do. And by the way, one of these steps that I take consistently, and I have been for the last 10 years, is my morning practice. I've learned to teach it in a way that really allows you to customize it to your life and to your way. So make sure you stay all the way to the end so you get the link to go ahead and grab the morning practice for yourself, because these are one of the most important action-taking, creativity-stimulating practices that I've done and that I teach. So back to the question, when does self-care become self-sabotage? Again, I believe that self-care becomes self-sabotage when you actually are starting to be on the verge of something big in your life. When you've made a decision, when you've made a commitment to create something, and you actually start taking steps to make it happen. In those moments, when you're in the waist-deep river of creation, is when your self-sabotage can start to kick in, and you start to add more self-care to your day, which, again, I teach self-care as a foundational practice to manage your energy, but there is a dark side. So the next time you start to feel like all I want to do today is lay on the couch, ask yourself a question. Am I really just replenishing my energy, or am I avoiding taking that one or two next steps that's going to make me feel creative? Sometimes it's just a matter of doing that one more thing, or even delegating it to somebody. But don't avoid it, because taking action, especially creative action, can stimulate you in a way that creates the life that you're moving towards. So don't let self-care become self-sabotage for you. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I'd love to hear what you think. I'd love for you to leave a review and find me on Facebook and post a message on my Facebook page, because I'd love to know what you think about this topic. So I will see you on the next Meditations and Musings podcast. And remember, instead of resting on the couch, ask yourself, what can I do right now to enhance my creativity? I hope you got a lot out of this, and I can't wait to see you for the next episode of Meditations and Musings. Take care. Thank you so much for listening and learning about the new divine self-care way of being in your life, business, and the bedroom based on the divine feminine metrics of success: pleasure, play, ease, grace, and a slower pace. If you're ready to bust the myth of overwhelm and tap into an inspired start to each day, I've put together a free video series for you to help you start each day with energy, inspiration, and ignite that inner pilot light which attracts joy, magic, and synchronicity. You can access my 3-step magic morning practice to help you ignite your inner light and attract the abundance that you're craving. Head on over to elenalipson.com/gift. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would so love if you share it with a friend, a sister, a mother, a daughter, and please leave a review. That is how the magic starts to ripple out. Here's wishing you a day full of beauty, magic, and divine self-care. I'll see you next time at the Meditations and Musings podcast.